earlier part of fear is the key, we have seen how sometimes fear is justified when it comes to children to make them obey a certain guideline. Today's episode we will be expanding on this theme and looking at examples from other spheres of life. Sun Tzu, in his Art of War, has said a good general is the one who doesn't need to go to war. He creates a background in such a way that the enemies fear him, or the enemies feel that if they take up a war with this general, they are going to lose disproportionately more than otherwise. So why take up that much of losses? And in general, they are reluctant to go to war with this particular general. This is the impression that he has created. It may or may not be the reality, but it is a perception that is created through the narrative. And that is where fear becomes the key. I have recently heard one anecdote from a particular state where bulldozer action is at the peak. The government is intent on bringing down all unauthorized constructions and has been implementing the code guidelines to a T. In a village, there was this contract given for cleaning of gutters or cleaning of canals. The contractor sent one bulldozer for that work. That bulldozer, when it was entering that village, it hit a rickshaw, and the rickshaw driver went to the police and lodged a complaint. The police confiscated the bulldozer and brought it and kept it within the compound of the police chowki. Now interestingly, this was seen by many villagers because it can be easily seen over the compound. The news reached a wealthy person whose brother was already in jail for unauthorized construction. This person also had couple of unauthorized constructions in the village, immediately got into action. By nightfall, he flattened all his unauthorized constructions, cleaned up the land and made it as it was before. After 3 days, the contractor paid whatever the fine and took away his bulldozer. Just the bulldozer being there had created the fear in the minds of lawbreakers. This is exactly how fear works. It is a perception, it may not be reality, it doesn't have to be reality. I had gone to a friend's place, a 7-story building, and as the lift was going up, I saw on the parapet were fixed small images of various gods. Later on, when I reached him, I asked him for the reason. He said, our lifts have this collapsible door, and many people who eat gutka, we have seen that they have the habit of spitting at the parapet as the lift goes up, creating huge amount of dirt, dust and garbage. Now that we have fitted these images over there, nobody spits. Belief works, fear works, and here it is a fear that is coming out of belief. There are many other examples, but we will take just one more. Example is CCTV. CCTV may be working, may not be working. There may be just a red light inside that which is powered by the battery, But the very fact that the CCTV is there and that your actions may be noted, may be recorded, itself is a fear, because that may result in future conviction. So this is where fear is the key, perception is the key. We may not have known from this particular location of any cases that were prosecuted, caught or punished, but that fear of something may happen is very clear. Now interestingly, who is this for? This is meant for the people who are uninformed, who are not matured enough to have empathy, who are not matured enough to understand the social impact of their action, the people to whom we cannot explain or they are not open to the logic. And as Chanakya has said, Saama, Daana, Danda, Bheda. So some people only understand Danda, and that is where the fear becomes the key. Those people who understand Saama or have knowledge, for them knowledge itself is good enough, and they would be the people who would be law abiding citizens anyway. One example in this case is consanguinity or marrying near relatives is a no-no today. But in earlier days it was not known that consanguinity is bad. There was no restriction on consanguinity or marrying near relatives. And that is why you will see that the consanguinity density in Europe or even in Iceland, a country which is very sparsely populated, is much higher. Why did it not happen in India? Because in India there is this Yama Yami Samvad, which gives conceptual understanding of what may happen. It gives conceptual understanding of the problem of marrying within relations, and that is where the Gotra system was created. And because the Gotra system was created and followed all through the years, India, though the country is extremely high on population density, it has relatively much lower consanguinity density. This approach was 2 or 3 pronged. One is for those who understand Saama in terms of the concept of Yama Yami Samvad, Dana in terms of give and take. Danda was not there. It was not against the law as such, because Hindu law is directive, Hindu law is not compulsory, and Bheda was differential treatment that was given when such marriage was proposed, if ever. So Saama, Dana, Danda, Bheda were properly used, and for those sections of the society where it was applied and where it was followed. So that is also the reason why fear becomes the key when you have to explain something to a party which is not in a position to understand your logic. And same thing, if you see, is happening in terms of Ukraine and Russia. Russia tried to explain their logic over the years that it feared getting cornered by the NATO, and that was why they did not want Ukraine to hobnob with the NATO or the Western powers. But that didn't work and the war became inevitable. This is ancient wisdom in action. Namaskar.